Hey everybody, Jem Schofield here with the C47 and another episode of Gearbox. Last episode of the week, and this one's a little different. Hopefully you'll find it interesting. I'm not going to try to cover everything here, but I do want to talk about one particular thing. So, as if that's not mysterious enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my trusty little S95 and I'm going to show you what I have going on here. Okay, there we go. So at the top there, on the Manfrotto boom pole, I have the 5D Mark II. And it has a 50mm lens on it. It does have a polarizer also, but that's really sort of irrelevant to what we're doing right now. And then down here at the bottom, I'm actually going to do a walkover and show you what I have, and I will be right back. Okay, you guys get the idea. So that is the Sony PMW EX1. No, it's not an F3. And it has the brand new M3 35mm lens adapter on it from Red Rock Micro. This thing is shipping in about 2 weeks. This is a pre-production demo model, just for some testing. I'm only going to have it for a few days. And then it's going back to the guys at Red Rock. But this is the first time I've actually really gotten to get my hands on this thing since I saw it first at NAB. I did an episode of Gearbox on it. And for me, really, the whole point of this new adapter is that there are tons and tons of 1/3 inch to 1/2 inch video cameras out there. Even though we have this huge, DSLR craze, and now we're going to start to see a new crop of video cameras with large sensors and interchangeable lens systems, like the AF100, the F3, whatever this NX camera from Sony is going to be called that's coming out next summer, and who knows what Canon's going to come out with. These other cameras, the ones with the smaller sensors, the smaller chips, they're being used every day, day in and day out. And in fact, I was a very early adopter of 35mm lens adapters. A project I did a long time ago on an HVX 200 right when it came out was with a 35mm lens adapter that we rented from Able Cinetech. And then from there, I had to make a decision when the small format HD cameras came out, like the EX1 and the HPX 170, which camera I was going to get. I wound up getting the EX1, but I also wound up getting the M2 Encore from Red Rock Micro. Now, it's a great 35mm lens adapter. I've shot tons of jobs on it and like it very much, but it's made up of lots and lots of pieces, which means it's kind of a pain to put together and to take apart. And it also has lots of places where dust and things can get into it. So this M3 here is a unibody design. It only really has one place where dust can get in, and you can clean that out very easily. Batteries are on the side as opposed to underneath where your rail system is. And just all around, a better constructed, a better built, from what I can tell, 35mm lens adapter. The M2 Encore didn't really have a lot of light loss. I would say probably somewhere in the neighborhoods of 3/4 of a stop. But it looks like this adapter is even a little bit less than that, which is fantastic. And I'm basically seeing no vignetting issues with this particular adapter. So when you use a 35mm lens adapter, what you do is you basically have a piece of ground material in there. It could be glass or some sort of composite material, and that's sitting inside of the adapter. And what you do is you focus your video camera onto that piece of, we'll call it ground glass for right now. And then what you do is you put a lens on your 35mm lens adapter, and that projects an image onto that piece of ground glass, and you videotape that off of your video camera. Kind of crazy stuff, but it works really, really well. And it allows you to get that selective focus that we nowadays all really love from DSLR cameras. So it's kind of like having a DSLR sitting in front of your camera. And while I don't think I'm going to be having this conversation with you 2 years from now, right now, like I said, there's a ton of these cameras out there, 1/3 inch, 1/2 inch sensor-based cameras. And when you want to match a DSLR shoot, or you want to get away from all those problems that we have today, like moire and aliasing and the excessive skew issues that we have with CMOS rolling shutter, then using a 35mm lens adapter with a CCD based or a CMOS video camera that has maybe not eliminated rolling shutter but has much less of those issues can be a great fit for people. This guy right here is under $2,000 complete. That means with a rail system, a riser, all that kind of stuff. You can buy the adapter by itself for about, I don't know, between $1,300 and $1,400. It hasn't been completely released yet, but I think all the pricing is up there on redrockmicro.com. I'll send you guys a link. So actually, what is today about? Well, today is really talking about one thing. It's not about correct exposure. It's not about how shallow depth of field is, though it's pretty shallow. It is really about the fact that on both of these cameras, I have a 50mm lens, and both of these cameras are basically in the same place. The sensor of the 5D Mark II is pretty much lined up with that quote-unquote ground glass in the M3. And what we're seeing here, and I set up a couple of light stands just to sort of have some sort of frame of reference, is we're seeing that the angle of view that we're seeing from the M3 is very, very similar, almost right on with the 5D Mark II. And what that means is that we're getting effectively full frame 35mm angle of view, field of view of the world with the M3 when we're using it with a video camera. Now, it doesn't change the size of the sensor inside of your video camera, of course not. But if you're using fast prime lenses, and the EX1 has a very fast lens, it's a f1.9, then you can do some pretty great stuff with this camera. Are they as good in low light as using a DSLR? Absolutely not. But when you're in a lit environment or you're outside, it's a fantastic option. In fact, it's getting a little too dark here right now. I actually have the gain up on the EX1 just because of a time issue up to a +3, but you know, it's fine. So that's the deal. The whole point of today was to show you the angle of view and the fact that if you have a good 35mm lens adapter and you use it with an existing video camera, that you can get very close to the angle of view and very close to the shallow depth of field, or the selective focus, the deep and the shallow depth of field that you would get out of a full frame 35mm DSLR camera. I'm not saying they're equal. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I think that they both have their place. But I am saying that there are still options, and I think that there's probably 1.5 to 2 years of life in a good 35mm lens adapter. And hopefully I'll get my hands on a final production unit at some point for my EX1, because that may be the route I go for a while until everything sort of settles down in the large sensor video camera arena. And I know that I can go out with this, and of course there's no client question if you have this sitting on an EX1 whether or not you're serious business. And we know that client perception still today is somewhat of an issue, especially for corporate clients. You walk in with the 5D Mark II and you don't kit it out, and you just have, I don't know, an 85 prime on there, which may be a beautiful lens. They're going to scratch their heads and wonder why they're spending their money on your project, at least until they see it. So there you go. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys next time on Gearbox.